being here with me. My name is Lisa Niver, and I'm starting with this short video from the Philippines. Now, this is me hula hooping in the Philippines, in jail. So, in the Philippines, there's two places where the inmates dance, and I travel with my hula hoop. And my dad said, you can't possibly talk to all the people in Los Angeles without telling them about how you dance with your hula hoop with the inmates in the Philippines. So, I don't know if any of you have been to jail in another country, but I did. I went to jail in another country, and I brought my hula hoop, and I got to dance with all the men. So, I don't know what's on your bucket list, but just putting that out there for you. You can travel also with your hula hoop. And if anybody would like a turn, I'd be happy to teach you a little bit about the hula hoop. So, thank you. That's the end of the hula hoop. That is the beginning of my talk. Oops, there it goes again. So, this is me. This is at a place called City Climb in New York City. I'm speaking on the travel show circuit, so I was speaking in Chicago, New York. Now I'm here with you in Los Angeles. I am from here in Los Angeles. And if you had told me that I would ever hang out and climb up the side of a skyscraper, if you called me to tell me that, I would have hung up on you. Because I did not like to do scary things. And so my talk is called Becoming Brave, because I didn't do a lot of scary things, but now I do. So I want to share with you how I got through the steps to learn to be a little bit more brave. You might have seen me yesterday. I was on TV here at the travel show with Bob DeCastro on Good Day LA. And you may also have seen me on KTLA. So I have a couple of clips to show you some of my travel segments with KTLA. I've been able to share segments from Utah, Canada, Critics' Choice, and all around the world. But that doesn't look like them. There they are. But you can't hear them. Should we start again? We're going to try one more time. Technology is hard. Okay, that's me. We're going to try again. Go back to the beginning of you. Sorry. Let's see. Okay.
Travel expert Lisa Niver is here. Do you follow Lisa Niver? Travel advisor Lisa Niver first.
And Niver knows best. Globetrotter's years of travel experiences led her to create the adventure-based online community.
When you say go travel, it's very personal stories. It's people's experiences in a place. And I coach, you go to the station, they have a great big giant celebration before you even get on the train. And the train is so beautiful.
Don't you think it's like once you board, you just like let go, right? Everything else, everything's going to be taken care of. You don't have to do anything.
Nothing. They serve you breakfast, lunch, snacks, beverages, wine, cheese train, where you go through the spiral tunnels. It's an engineering marvel. And I got in the X6, and they were telling you, brake when you see the yellow cone and gun it, and the car swerved. And I've never felt that before. And I was like, I think I'm doing terribly. When I got out of the car and in the next vehicle, I was like, you're doing amazing.
So those are some experiences.
Lisa Niver is here.
Those are some experiences that I've had that I've shared on KTLA. Some of you are already asking me, how can you find out more about me? I will have this up again at the end. You can find me, Lisa Niver, all across social media, on YouTube. I have a podcast. In September, I have a book coming out. I will tell you more about that later. But if you, some people can never put down their phone, so go ahead, feel free, you can follow me anywhere on social media, and if you have any questions, you can always connect with me there. So the question, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how my love of travel got started, and then tell you the steps about how I became more brave. So this is how I got started. In 1981, my family went on a cruise, And it was an amazing experience for me because I felt like my history books came to life. We went to the pyramids in Egypt. We went to the Parthenon in Greece. I got to put my own note in the wall in Jerusalem. And I saw the incredible library of Ephesus in Turkey. Now, because of this trip, this sent me on a lifelong adventure, and I ended up studying twice in Jerusalem. I went for 9 weeks with a bunch of kids from Los Angeles one summer before we graduated high school, and I spent a semester in Jerusalem studying at Hebrew University.
Thanks for staying with us in the Travel and Adventure Show. We're not done yet.
We're not done
Now
yet.
the destination theater is all about our Aurora expedition cruising to the Antarctic. Become brave, steps to make your dream vacations happen. With award-winning travel writer Lisa Niver
That's me.
on the Savvy Travel Theater.
Thank you.
And our featured speaker. In a first-time ever panel, Rick Steves talks all about ethical travel, sustainability, informing the world. With panelist Craig Davidson. Rick Steves starts in 10 minutes.
Yeah, but you've heard him before. Okay, so back to me. Back to me. So, I was studying in Jerusalem, and that actually inspired a lot of my love of travel. So I love travel, but I also love to be underwater. So you can see here, let's see if I can make this pointer work, this one. This is in Sipadan in Malaysian Borneo, and it looks like a wall of barracudas, but it's actually a tornado of barracudas. That's how they feed. And that's me, that little person. This is in Cuba at Gardens of the Queen, and no, I am not touching the shark. We don't touch wild animals. This is when I filmed in Puerto Rico with Orbits. So I love travel, I love scuba diving, and I did really love teaching. But teaching and exotic travel were not the best financial match. So I did have a camel one day in class. Here's, this is Julius Squeezer, the boa constrictor, and this is us doing science. So what happened was, I stopped teaching in the classroom and I started working at Club Med. Now I told you I love scuba diving. They sent me to the mountains. And this beautiful girl, that's my sister, and that's me. That's me being Marge, the nerdy librarian. That was my character for the dating game. And I always won. They always picked me, the nerdy librarian. So after working in the mountains and in the Bahamas, I made a switch and I started working for Princess Cruises. I absolutely love Princess Cruises. I worked for Princess, Royal Caribbean, and Renaissance. And I loved working on cruise ships, but I had a small problem. After 9/11, Renaissance Cruises went bankrupt within 6 days. So I went back to teaching and I was trying to figure out how was I ever going to travel again. And then I started backpacking. This is in Samoa. And this was the day my traveling partner bet me I could not carry both backpacks. But it turns out I'm very strong. I can carry 2 backpacks, but do not take that bet. That's so stupid. Why would you carry both backpacks? Don't do that. Anyway, I was teaching, I was traveling, I was teaching. The blog revolution happened. And I started working more as a journalist, taking different trips around the world. Now, getting back to being brave. So my whole life, I was told that I was very clumsy and not athletic. And that is why I had so many accidents. And I had a lot of accidents. And that made me feel like I didn't want to try things because I kept getting hurt. So I didn't want to do things. Well, it turns out when I was getting divorced, I figured out there was something wrong with my eyes. So I'm not clumsy, I am athletic, but I needed help from the doctor. So I was working with an incredible doctor, Dr. Brodney here in Los Angeles. And when I worked with Dr. Brodney to fix my eyes was when I really had to use the F word a lot. Of course, that's flexible. That's what you were thinking. Flexible. When we're traveling, we need to be flexible because sometimes our plane is delayed. Sometimes, as we know lately, our plane is canceled. But when you have a problem with your eyes, you have to be flexible. So Dr. Brody helped me. I am much better able to see. And Dr. Brody was the one that suggested I start doing new challenges. And one of Dr. Brody's ideas was I should play tennis, which I thought was a terrible idea because I couldn't see. So I thought back to all my time teaching, and I thought about fixed mindset and growth mindset, which is something from Carol Dweck's work. If you're not familiar with her book, it's fantastic. It's called Mindsets. Please feel free to take pictures of any of my slides. And there's some other F words here you might be familiar with. Failure. And the F word of failure was something I felt a lot when I was getting divorced. And so I was thinking, how could I give myself permission? I worked on my eyes. I wanted to do these challenges. I wasn't so good at sports. There was a lot of things going on in my head. So eventually, I did a project where I did 50 challenges before I turned 50. Now, I want you to know I never, ever agreed to do 50. I only ever agreed to do one more. And a lot of times, I pretty much quit that too. So it is okay to quit and start again. So here are some of my tips from trying to get through different challenges. These are some of the things I actually did accomplish. This is, you've seen a different picture of me scuba diving. I went to a lot of different countries. This is a sport called hurling in Ireland. This is one of the most ancient sports in the world. And it uses a very small ball. And I was like, really? I can't see that great. Anyway, it turned out it was not terrible, or they're very good liars, or both. But it was really fun. And this is, of course, scuba diving is one of my favorite things, so I have a bunch of slides of scuba diving. So the way to figure out how to get through these challenges, one of the things you have to do is start very small. So I love this quote from Mark Twain. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. The secret of getting started is breaking your complex, overwhelming tasks into small, manageable tasks, and then starting on the first one. So like I said, you do not have to commit to doing a whole bunch of challenges at once. Maybe you're going to do one. Maybe you're going to do none. Maybe you're going to use things that you already accomplished. You don't have to do it anyone else's way. So one of the things that I have to think about a lot, because like I said, I'm afraid, is it worth it? So when I was in Indonesia, we were on the island of Flores, and in Modi, this very small town, there are these colored lakes. And my traveling partner wanted to go, but the only way to go was on a motorbike. And I said, I will not go on a motorbike. And so we were evaluating. Did we really want to go? Could we go in a car? Could we take a bicycle? Could we walk? Well, they were no. The only way to go was on a motorbike. So in the end, I decided to be brave, and we went, and it was beautiful. So sometimes we think about fear that someone told me fear is false evidence appearing real. So was it necessary that I be so terrified? It turned out okay. So sometimes you have to reevaluate. Now, this is to get you a little bit in the neighborhood. So here is Asia, India, Australia. So here, Indonesia is the largest archipelago on our planet. A lot of people talk about Bali as if Bali is all of Indonesia, but it is not. It is an island. So here we have Sipadan. That's where you saw the tornado barracudas. This is Malaysian Borneo, and on Kalimantan, we traveled overland to this little island of Derawan. From Derawan, we took a boat for 1 hour to another island called Kakavan, and they told me, oh, Lisa, it's going to be so great. You can go snorkeling with stingless jellyfish. And I said, that's so stupid. There's no such thing. But no, it's going to be great. We're going to go. So they convinced me to go. And the whole time I was terrified, but I got in the water and we snorkeled with all these jellyfish. It's literally like swimming in jello. Because they run up against you. You feel the jellyfish. So, I feel like this is too low. Am I not loud enough? Is that better? Can you hear me better? You can hear me? You hear? Okay. So, when I was in Indonesia, in Kakban, I went snorkeling with the stingless jellyfish. Then I went to Palau. Now, Palau is an incredible place to visit. I highly recommend Palau. But I got to Palau and they said, this is the only place in the world that you can swim with stingless jellyfish. And I said, are you sure about your answer? And they said, yes, Lisa, this is the only place. And I said, well, but I've already done it and I've never been here before. So it turns out there's 4 places I've found in the world that you can swim with stingless jellyfish. The thing you need to make sure of, sometimes the jellyfish go back to their larval stage, so there's nothing to swim with, so make sure you check. And also, sometimes in order to take care of the environment, they're not allowing tourists to swim. You'll notice there's no fins. The fins are not safe for the jellyfish. So it is incredible. The other thing about Palau, if you haven't been, and I hope you will go because the scuba diving is amazing. There's the UNESCO Rock Islands. Is this pledge. So when you arrive in Palau, they stamp your passport with this pledge. This is an agreement between you and the children of Palau that while you're there, you are going to care for their home. And I think it's really beautiful. And it's something that we need to be more conscious of in our own home here in Los Angeles, or when we're out and about around the world. How are we interacting with the environment, the local people, the local customs? So that's what's happening in Palau. Now, I know we talked a little bit about my favorite F word, which is flexible. But if you're not familiar with Liz and Molly, I thought the way they describe failure and success is something I wish that I had known about when I was growing up. And it is often I felt, particularly when I was getting divorced, that failure was sort of the end. That my marriage was over, what was going to happen next. And I love this brick wall where success and failure work together to build where we're going. I also love this other one about things that you regret. We regret much more the things we never did try. So Liz and Molly are on every social media platform. They have a book. I highly recommend them. They have all these fantastic cartoons to make you feel a little bit better. Some of us, during this time of the COVID coaster, haven't been out as much as we wanted, and we feel a little bit rusty. How can we get back out there? So I think Liz and Molly can provide a lot of help when you're talking about how to become more brave and how to get more optimistic and how can you get back out there. I recommend them. Another tool that I've used in being more brave is to do things with a buddy. In scuba diving, we always go with a buddy. And this is a time that I was invited to go bike riding at North Star Lake Tahoe. Now, I am a very good skier because I grew up with no choice but to ski. My family was a skiing family. But I had a very serious bike accident as a child because of my eyes. So when I was in Lake Tahoe for a women's ski clinic, and they invited me to come back for something called Pumps and Pedals. Did I want to do a mountain biking trip? And I said, absolutely not. There's no way I'm going biking. And my friend Marcy looked at me, she goes, is that not the whole point of your project? You're supposed to do things that you're afraid of and are challenging. And I said, do not use my words against me. So, Marcy said the magic words, which were, I will go with you. She said, I'm also afraid, but I will do it with you. And so with that, I did say I would go. However, I did ask for a private teacher that did not mind crying. So I thought I was joking about the crying, but there actually was crying, but I still did it. That's Marcy and I found this tricycle. We were like, can we just do that? That seems much better. But the other thing to remember is the ways that you are already brave. Sometimes when something happens in our family, and maybe like me, you got divorced, or someone was sick, or you lost your job, or you want a different job. We forget all the things we've already accomplished. So one of my writing projects when I was in Park City is I worked with the National Ability Center. I've skied with a wounded warrior, a gentleman who lost both his legs in the battles in Afghanistan. This day I was skiing with Jennifer, who is blind. So I wrote about this story for Sierra Magazine. At the National Ability Center, they work with all kinds of people. They do all kinds of accommodations. If you know anybody that wants to get back on the mountain, they're amazing. While I was there skiing, I got invited to go on the Olympic bobsled. Now you might imagine from my story this far, I was afraid. So I had a lot of reasons why I should not go on the Olympic bobsled. And I was explaining to my Lyft driver that it was a terrible idea. He said, Lisa, you skied today with someone who's blind and you won't sit behind the driver on the bobsled? I'm like, well, now that you said it that way, it's pretty hard not to go. So this is how it looks from the seat in the bobsled. So it was really fun. It's very fast. There was a lot of screaming. And then this happened afterwards.
Oh my God, that was amazing. I want to do it again. So good. Thank you, Fred. My mom loves you. I live.
So that was my driver. And I had told him, my mom will be really upset if I die today. And he said, Lisa, I've done this 3,000 times. You have to sit down. Because I was standing in the bobsled, I wouldn't sit down. So it was really, really fun. And there's only there's bobsleds, not that many. I think there's about 17 tracks around the world, but there's only 2 that allow civilians. So you can go in Park City, Utah, at the Olympic Park. So I told you I had all these different challenges. It's in the fall. I have a book coming out that has all of them in there. So you might be wondering, what did I do for my 50th birthday? Yes, I jumped out of a perfectly well-maintained airplane. I never ever thought I would do that. But I did it here in California with Go Jump Oceanside. They're a great outfit. I highly recommend them. The only problem I had was the day I showed up. It was cloudy. And I don't know if you're familiar with jumping out of airplanes, but we couldn't go. So for 2 hours, that'd be 120 minutes, I had to sit and think about my choices. So they were trying to convince me not to leave. And my tandem instructor was asking me about my project. And he said, what else had I done? Well, I had just been scuba diving with bull sharks in Mexico. And he said, I would never do that. I am afraid of sharks. And I learned my most important lesson from my whole book, because my whole life I thought some people were brave, and some people like me were not brave. Like a light switch. Brave was on or off. And that's not how it works. Bravery we built. And some people could be brave for one thing and not another. Like this man who gets paid to throw himself out of airplanes regularly. He's afraid of sharks. So because I went and did this, now I've done more things. This is called Edge Walk. This is in Toronto. You could walk around the CN Tower. Of course, the day I went, it was raining. You can't tell how high up we are. But recently I went in New York. This is City Climb. You climb up the stairs, and I can show you what it looks like. It's very fun. Are you ready? I think we should have some sound. Is that my fault? Is that you? Oh, that's my fault. Climb up the stairs, and then you have to walk around the corner. So they said to me when I got there, are you afraid of heights? And I said, well, I did jump out of an airplane. They said, you'll be fine. So along the way, I've been able to find things that are special for me, things that make me happy. And that's an easier way to be brave. So some of you might have on your bucket list that you'd like to stay in an overwater bungalow. So on the Malolo Island in Fiji, and some of our Fiji friends are here today. Hi, Fiji friends. You can stay in an overwater bungalow. And one of the things that's happening around the world is we're very focused on ecotourism. So at Malolo Island, they are helping the Fijian crested iguana.
And you can learn about their habitat. The tropical dry forest is the most endangered habitat on our planet, and they are planting a goal of 200 trees a month. So you can come and help plant trees with Naka Baka Lebu. Thank you for learning about the Fijian crested iguana.
So you can go and stay on the island and you can help. They are taking out invasive species, the invasive plants, the invasive animals, they're replanting. There's different places you can go on your journey, do challenges, try something new. Do you want to help save the planet and stay in an overwater bungalow? That seems pretty good to me. The other thing that's important for me is it's not enough. I can't just have my birthday be one day. I have to have a whole month. So one thing that can help you is you can celebrate early and often. So this is from Beaches, Turks, and Caicos. I was there with a bunch of other journalists, and everybody was filming, and we actually got to dance underwater. So you need to find the things that make you happy. It makes it easier to accomplish your challenges. So we had so much fun that they actually used this footage for International Women's Dive Day. Now, I want to give you some tips for how you can make a difference in your travel plans and becoming more brave. A lot of people use Kayak or Expedia for search. I love Kiwi.com, especially if you're traveling internationally. Now, once I find a route that I want, I go directly to the airline and I book my flights one way. It used to be that round-trip flights were cheaper. That's not true anymore. If you book separately and something happens, and over the last few years we know a lot of things have been happening, it doesn't disrupt your schedule. So I highly recommend booking the flights separately. I also recommend, it's way better to be a VIP, get the airline credit card. There's plenty of people here speaking about miles and points and credit cards. My recommendation is do your research, pick your airline, use the credit card. The other thing that's very, very important is to travel with insurance. Now, I told you earlier that when I worked for Renaissance, they went bankrupt. There's many companies, unfortunately, during COVID have gone bankrupt. When you buy your trip, do not buy the travel insurance from the same company because if they go bankrupt, you lose everything. So just something to keep in mind, whoever you're buying from, they should be a little bit separate in case something happens. Now another thing is if you don't ask, you don't get. So sometimes you have to keep asking when you're a journalist to figure out where are you going to place this amazing story. So I went to the Solomon Islands for this, Susan went with me to the Solomon Islands for the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Guadalcanal. Now, it's recently the 80th anniversary. But how do you get to the Solomon Islands? You need to go through Fiji.
South Pacific in the Solomon Islands. There's 900 islands here. I flew here on Fiji Airways just to Fiji, and then 3 hours to get to the Solomon Islands.
I always wanted to do that.
Who's the chief, taught me how to make cloth out of bark, but you have to pound it.
The groom's family will give it to the bride.
The diving in the South Pacific is fantastic. Because of the battles that happened here, I've seen many wrecks underwater, Japanese wrecks, American wrecks, and tremendous creatures, eagle rays.
So another thing that happened, if you don't ask, you don't get, is I also filed a story about the Solomon Islands for the Saturday Evening Post. Now, you might imagine that when I went to visit was the 75th anniversary of the battle. So when my father asked me would I like to talk to a soldier who was there, I said, of course I would, but who would that be? So my dad turned out to know, this is Roy Roush in the time of the actual battle, and this is him with me 75 years later. So I wrote about that for the Saturday Evening Post, but if you don't keep asking, if you don't keep looking for challenges and opportunities, there might be something amazing right in front of you that you miss out on. So here's a little bit of a sum up of some of the steps. Like I said, you're welcome to take any pictures you want of my slides, and you can contact me. I'm happy to tell you more about them. So I have just a couple more slides, and then I have a very special giveaway. So don't leave yet. So I've been very fortunate in telling my stories and being a journalist to travel around the world. And this is a photo that Matt took of me when we were visiting a school in Kenya. And I was showing the students pictures from our safari. And I know that I've been able for very brief moments when I'm traveling to see the world through someone else's eyes. And that is very incredible. And as I've traveled, I've noticed that people live in different kind of houses. So this is a ger that I stayed in Mongolia when we were on our way to the Gobi Desert. So we live in different houses. We wear different clothes. This is a place where I was able to share my hula hooping with the Maasai warriors. I got permission from the chief of the village, Richard. I asked him, could I bring my hula hoop and teach the Maasai warriors? And he said, what is a hula hoop? And so I showed him a video of the camp we had been in the night before, where I had hula hooped around the campfire with the people that worked in that village. So it turned out the Maasai warriors were quite good at hula hooping, and one of the guys, he laughed so hard he actually fell down. They just thought it was so funny. But so we live in different houses, we wear different clothes, and around the world I've been able to see children in Vanuatu, Tonga, Samoa, Vietnam, Indonesia, all around the world I've been. I can tell you parents want the same thing for their children. They want them to be happy, they want them to be healthy, and they want them to live their best life. So, when I want to get you started on your adventures right here in Los Angeles. So I have partnered with Go City. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they have been around for 20 years. And they have a pass here in Los Angeles, the Explorer's Pass. And we are going to give away 2 passes today, which has a value of $200. You can use it for whale watching, SoFi tour, Warner Brothers tour, Grammy Museum. So, under somebody's chair is one of my cards with a pink heart on it. I have cards for all of you if you would like a card of mine. Anybody see my card? Definitely in this vicinity over here, friends. That would be it. Okay. So come see me afterwards and give me your email address. I will give you the passes. If you would like your own pass, you can go to gocity.com. There's only one set, sir. Only one set. I'm happy to connect you with them if you would like a pass, though. And again, if you would like to connect with me, you want to know about my podcast, my videos, my book, you can find me all over the internet at Lisa Niver. And we do have time for some questions if anyone has questions, but I'm going to give you the very first answer. What's my favorite country? I love Thailand. So thank you very much for all being here with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome to Explore the Field. But if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take any questions or come talk to me up here.